But let me give you now my review of the gameplay that we just did from start to finish here in this game. I enjoyed this game immensely. This was a lot of fun. Yes, it is a game that came out in the year 2000. It is based on id Software's id Tech 3 gaming engine, which runs Quake 3 Arena. So we kind of knew what to experience going into this, knowing what the gameplay would be like, what the graphics would be like, and what the weapons would be like. They are basically Quake 3 weapons with a Star Trek wrapper over it. But there are some unique firing weapons, some unique things in the game that I was glad to see. So knowing that going into this game, it had that nostalgia feel from that era of gaming. And I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. This game, obviously, with the older graphics, is going to look like it's going to look. I tried to make it look as good as I could in the year 2022. I customized the resolution so that it was running at 2560 by 1440, which is 1440p. So that's a little bit higher of a resolution than you would be running in the year 2000. So there is a higher resolution there. Plus, I enabled a couple of graphics options that you would not have had the horsepower for back then. That is 8x MSAA, so that there are no jaggies in the game. Everything was very well anti-aliased. And also I turned on 16x anisotropic filtering so that all the textures were not blurry in the distance, but they were filtered and smooth in the distance. So those were some things that helped make the game look a little bit better than it normally would have in 2000, unless you had the horsepower for that. And then if you were able to run the game at like 1600 by 1200 back then, it would still look pretty good at that resolution. That was a high resolution back then. But anyway, it's looking as good as it could in the year 2022. And so there is that. As the tagline of my gaming channel says, I play games as intended. That means maximum settings, maximum graphics, getting to see the game in all its glory at the highest graphics settings the developer intended. So that's what I did here in Star Trek Voyager Elite Force, and that's what I got to experience. So there's that. I played in the easy mode. I enjoyed that mode. I really didn't need anything harder, although I could have definitely done it harder. I think I could have got by for sure on the medium level just fine. I'm in it for the storyline, and so that's why I played the game, for the storyline. All right, so how did the game story go? Well, I think it went pretty darn cool. You start off like you're playing a television show, Star Trek Voyager. It starts off just like the TV show. And you are caught into what would be a crazy Voyager episode. You're pulled off into some unknown part of the Delta Quadrant, and you're attacked all of a sudden by enemies. You can't get out, and you have to find your way out. In fact, I think there were a couple of episodes just like that. I remember one where they went into a black void kind of area where there was no space. They couldn't even see space, and they were trapped in this void area for a long time and had to get out. So there have been episodes just like this where things like this happen. So that made it feel just like the TV show. And then, of course, having all the voice actors really brought you into it. And then the story kind of played out like a TV show. You find out that there's people scavenging, and you have to fight off the enemies. You have to then find this forge, take down this dampening field, fight the boss, blow it up, and get out of there. So that's cool. But what makes this game enjoyable is the variety. It's the variety of enemies and things that you see that are common to Star Trek. So a lot of people thought, and even I did, that this game was just fighting the Borg on a Borg ship. You may have that recollection of this game, that all it is just you fight some Borg and that's it. But a lot of people were surprised to find out through my gameplay here, and I was also, that there is a lot of variety in this game. It's more than just the Borg, okay? It really is more than just the Borg. Look, I can click on these things too. It's more than just the Borg. there's a lot of alien variety in this game. You come across this amalgamation of like ships that are all together in a group. And so you've got Klingon ships, you've got Hirogen, you've got Malon, you've got all these staples of the Delta Quadrant that we've seen from Voyager. You get to fight them and experience them in Voyager. We even see a Terran ship from the Terran or Mirror Universe, the Terran Empire. That's unique. I didn't think I would be encountering a Terran ship in this game. So you get to fight through that. You get to fight through a new kind of alien, these creatures that kind of come in and out of a dimensional thing or whatever. I forgot what they were called. And you had a unique experience on their alien ship, right? Then you had this cool idea about this gunship that was literally like a big space gun, and you had to use it to fight off the harvesters, and you had to power it up and fire it, right? So you had a unique environment in that ship, right? So that was unique. Then you even got to do stuff in Voyager itself and fight the creatures, the harvesters, in Voyager and go through Voyager. And then you go to the Forge, which is another unique environment. I forgot the Borg. You go to the Borg, you have to go to the Borg to get some isodecium also. So you fight Borg and go through all of that. But then you also go to the Forge, and that's a unique environment and has unique gameplay elements. And then you meet the Harvesters, which are not just bug creatures, but also these other bigger creatures. And then you meet their boss, the Vorsoth or whatever. And that's a unique thing, so a new alien creature we've never experienced. So there's a lot of environments in this game that I didn't think we would be getting into. And there's a lot of staples of the Delta Quadrant that you encounter in this game. A lot of aliens that, you know, are in the TV show. So consider this game came out in the year 2000. That is right after, you know, the series Star Trek Voyager. It's very close to that. So this would have been just like playing what you had just seen on TV. This lines up right there with that. So just think, you know, you've watched this on TV, you've watched the series and you've enjoyed it. Oh, now here's a game where you're part of the crew and you're doing these things. So it was very close together in the year 2000 to when the TV show came out, just, you know, prior to that. So it really fits well with like putting you in that universe and saying, oh, now we're going to put you in that universe and you're going to play what you just saw on TV. You're basically playing an episode of Voyager. And that's what it felt like, and I enjoyed that for that. I also enjoyed the kind of gameplay because it's that fast Quake kind of gameplay where you just go through, run through, jump around, and railgun everybody. But they peppered in some unique puzzles. You had the one with the force field ramp where you had to like phaser it and find out the path to go. You had platform jumping you had to do. You had some other puzzles you had to figure out along the way. The one with the laser beam to open the door and just some other things that you had to do. So there were puzzles thrown throughout this that made you think a little. But they weren't too hard and they weren't too bad. And otherwise, it's just, you know, throwing enemy after enemy at you and just, you know, you're fragging the crap out of everything. That's pretty much it. I loved all that. And I love the environments. I love the detail of it. For a 2000 game, it looked pretty good. Obviously, it doesn't hold a candle to today's graphics, but that's not the point. For the time, for being like a Quake 3 type of game, it was all right. And it was just having all that interaction, being familiar with Star Trek Voyager, that made this game really awesome. So I enjoyed all of that. And yeah, like people might have thought, it's not just you fighting the Borg the whole time. It's a lot of different environments. It's a lot of different aliens, a lot of different ships you go through. So that makes it very unique. Another thing is there are consequences and different ways to do things. So thank you to all the comments and in the videos. You let me know that there were certain situations and things I did that led to other things that would have turned out differently if I had done them differently. And I do love that about games because it gives you the option to play the game how you want, but then you're going to get a different outcome because of that. So one of the outcomes is you could have sneaked your way through those first amalgamation of ships. And if you had done that and like didn't kill anybody and just snuck your way through, one of your crew members would not have died in that mission. Mine did die because I went in and killed everybody. But if you had done it the sneaky way, you could have saved one of your personnel. Also in the Borg area, I also could have done something different so that I could have saved my crew personnel there as well, and it would have led to some different circumstances. And I think there's one other area where I did something different, that if I had done it a different way, it would have led to a different result. So I like that in games, and to think that a game from 2000 had that kind of those kinds of choices that you can make that lead to different outcomes. This game actually has that, and it is kind of subtle. You don't realize it, but they do kind of tell you in the dialogue, hey, if you do this sneaky, you can do this sneaky. They just don't tell you it could lead to a different result. But I'm telling you, and people let me know in the videos, it can lead to a different result. So I like that because it gives you the option to play the game how you want, and you get different results based on it. So if I wanted to play the game again, knowing that, I could play it a different way, and then I would get a different result. So I do like that, and I like that this game has that. And I didn't think this kind of game would have that. I thought it would be very linear, very one on the rails kind of a game. But to know that it has those kind of options, that expands the game for me, the dynamic of it. It's very well written and very well done. So I just want to give a big shout out to the developers of this game. I know it's old now, but all the developers, the writers, the producers who made this game happen back then, thank you for that. Thank you for this game. Thank you for making this game. Thank you for doing Star Trek justice. This game does Star Trek justice. This is a Star Trek game. You get the Star Trek feel. I love this game because it is Star Trek to the core, 100%. It is definitely awesome for that. What else is there to say? I will be playing Elite Force 2, so stay tuned. And that is actually another point I wanted to bring up. I think this idea of an elite force on Voyager is a good idea. I wish they had done that in the show. I wish that they had made a Delta Quadrant elite force team on Voyager to take on these kinds of missions. They really needed that on Voyager. They needed a specialized team that goes above and beyond their regular security team. You know, that wears like these environmental suits, that wears these special equipments and has helmets and is specially trained like the special forces, call them the special forces of Voyager. They could have used that in the Delta Quadrant. They went there with the shuttles. They created the Delta Flyer, so they did that with the shuttle. But they should have also had a dedicated team, just like Elite Force in the game here. That's actually would have been a good idea to add to the show back then when they were making the show. But anyway, yeah, that was a good idea. I like this idea of an elite force on Voyager. It makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. Okay, so that is my playthrough of Star Trek Voyager Elite Force, and I will be playing Star Trek Voyager Elite Force 2. So if you want to see that playthrough, subscribe to my channel, give the video a like, hit the bell notification icon for updates, and I will be playing that game as a sequel to this game in the future on this channel. That should be a lot of fun. But otherwise, I'm going to call it for today on this video. I will also be making a separate video for the virtual Voyager stuff, so stay tuned for that if you still want to see that. But this is my playthrough of the gameplay storyline for Star Trek Voyager Elite Force, and I really enjoyed it, and I hope you all enjoyed this playthrough as well. And I've got lots more playthroughs and lots more games planned on the channel, so I hope you stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.